In two separate operations of the troops of Operation Lafayette Dole, 7 Boko Haram terrorists have been reportedly killed. This is according to the Nigerian army. 5 Boko Haram members were killed when they attempted to ransack a military base at Buniyadi in Gubja local government area of Yobe State. And in Borno State, 2 other members of the terrorist gang were killed when the army embarked on an aggressive combing of the Jebra-Figi-Banki axis of Borno State, a place described by the army as a crossing point of Boko Haram terrorists. The Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Buratai, says he has gotten reports on the separate killings in the northeast and has asked the personnel to remain alert and uphold professional conduct during this national assignment. Community leaders and indigents of Kajuru town in Kaduna State have been recounting the sad events which led to the killing of over 60 people on the eve of the postponed election. The governor, El-Rufai, has also been to Kajuru to commiserate with the people and get first-hand information on what triggered the killings. In our next report, we bring you the visit of the governor and comments from indigents about the sad incident.
Ongwambade is a sparsely populated village of farmers and herders in Kajuru local government area. Kajuru is 59 kilometers away from the state capital, Kaduna. Monday, February the 11th, will remain a sad day, and the people have burnt houses, motorcycles and scattered cooking utensils as evidence of the carnage left behind. It was an attack by gunmen, and 66 people were brutally murdered. Indigents recount the sad experience.
My people in Iri Axis really tried. We counted about 36 people murdered and buried in a shallow grave. Their houses were burnt. The attackers went to another village and killed the residents.
A few days later, the governor, El-Rufai, accompanied by security agencies, visits the village to trace the origin of the killings. After carrying out investigations on the incident, the governor speaks on his findings.
And this is most unfortunate. So far, the Nigerian army has said 66 have been killed. That's the report that we got. The communities say that more than 70 have been buried. Some have gone as far as saying that apart from those dead, over 136 are still missing. They cannot find them and presumed dead. So this is the scale of the tragedy that we are trying to confront here, and some people are politicizing it.
For the GOC 1 Division Nigerian Army and the State Commissioner of Police, those behind this carnage will certainly be brought to justice. The police commissioner confirms that 7 suspects have already been arrested.
We are going to prosecute these offenders immediately. Courts open, even if it is Monday. We are not going to sleep. We've not been sleeping. We are going to finish everything. If the first chance we got that courts are open on Monday, we are going to prosecute them, and more arrests are on the way.
As far as we are concerned, what we reported was 66, comprising male, female, and children. On our part, you know where our locations are. We are already making effort to build the confidence of the citizens to return back to their places.
This is certainly not the best of times for the residents of Ongwambade, as they live in fear following the incident. But with the massive deployment of police and military officers there, it's likely that the security situation and the safety of people would be managed.
Well, following the global condemnation of the shift of Nigeria's general elections, the Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, has called for reforms of the electoral system in the country. SERAP cites what it calls the failures which led to the postponement of the election to a cumulative rot and corruption since the return of democracy in 1999. According to SERAP, quote, "It is clear that the current electoral process is vulnerable to corruption, but politicians would seem to have little incentive to comprehensively reform, upgrade and modernize it. It is unlikely that either the federal government or the National Assembly would like the steps necessary to sort out our electoral system and improve transparency, accountability and integrity, end of quote. Stirrup is worried that the postponement of the general election has become a recurring feature of the country's electoral process. It gives examples of 2007 general elections which witnessed late arrival of election materials from South Africa in April of that year, contributing to denying millions of voters their right to political participation. In the meantime, Lagos-based lawyer and senior advocate of Nigeria, Mr. Femi Falana, has joined in criticizing the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, for the postponement of the general elections. In a statement, the legal practitioner, citing sections of the Electoral Act, agrees that although INEC has the powers to shift elections, but insists it could only be done for a cogent and verifiable reason. The legal luminary will also not spare political parties and their agents, who he says have taken INEC to court in several pre-election cases, about 600 filed. According to him, quote, "The shameful postponement of the 2019 general election would not have occurred if the federal government had unbundled the INEC and ensured the practice of internal democracy in the political parties," end of quote. Mr. Falana also disagrees with INEC on the ban of political parties and their candidates for further campaigning for votes, saying the Electoral Act allows every political party to campaign 24 hours before elections. It's warning INEC to follow the rules unless it wants the court to annul some of its elections. Well, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, says that numerous court cases instituted by politicians against the electoral body largely made INEC reschedule the elections. With over 640 cases and 14 court orders across the country, the Commission had to delay the printing of the ballot for the initial exercise on February the 16th. This is the submission of the resident Electoral Commissioner, Mike Igini, when he appeared this evening on our political program, Sunday Politics.
You know, you cannot produce a ballot when you have not seen the total number of the candidates. Today, within this period we are talking about, we have had a total of 640 cases joining INEC and a total of 14 court orders, either asking INEC to add a name or remove a name. And take note that one of the grounds for challenging the election in Nigeria is that of issue of exclusion from the ballot. We have had to contend with that and to produce. By the time we decide, okay, let us now produce. These are problems arising from the kind of primaries that we observe in the country.
So you couldn't produce.
So you cannot produce that ballot with that kind of situation. 40 court orders, a total of 554 requests for certified true copy. This is the highest ever in our country.
So you are saying the politicians are your major problem?
It's a major problem. The kind of party primaries that they have conducted that are clearly a deviation from requirement of internal party democracy. You can see the crisis, and it's still ongoing.
Well, INEC is still explaining to Nigerians what led to the postponement of the elections last Saturday. Now, the resident electoral commissioners of Katsina, Cross River, Akwa Ibom and Enugu State, in separate briefings, appealed to Nigerians to give the commission another chance as INEC raises hope of a better conduct next Saturday.
The vehicles we had.
From the northwest in Katsina State, the resident electoral commissioner describes the postponement as unfortunate, but the commission has since returned the sensitive and non-sensitive materials to the state branch of the CBN for safekeeping.
Because we trust that the CBN can keep them better than anybody. So that is why they are for safekeeping for the electoral officers who have taken possession of them yesterday.
In the South and Akwa Ibom State, similar steps are being taken to ensure the safety of the election materials. But beyond that, the resident electoral commissioner in Akwa Ibom says the card readers in all the units will be retrieved and reconfigured.
We are going to retrieve back the card readers. As from today and tomorrow, the electoral officers are bringing back the card reader to the office for reconfiguration, for preparation for next Saturday election.
In the southeast, Enugu State, the Electoral Commissioner expresses concern about the disappointment and hardship the people of the state are going through. The same feeling is being expressed by his colleague in Oyo State.
We are promising that that same pattern will remain. As it stands now, we are going to retrieve, according to instructions, all the materials deposited at the local government areas back to the central bank.
Because of the sensitivity of these materials, we insisted that all the materials, including the smart card reader, and when I say materials now, I'm talking of the ballot paper for all the elections that we ought to have held, this Saturday. So we directed that they should return them back to the state office. And as I speak to you now, all of those materials are already here.
But a former governor of Kaduna State is asking INEC to go beyond apologies to making plans for next Saturday's election, as most people no longer have confidence in INEC to conduct a credible exercise.
Conditions for free, fair and transparent election leading to legitimate government has never existed in the history of Nigeria since 1950. Yes, it has never, and we should not expect it now that there is no preparation for it on the ground. Let the government now manage this problem, now that they have agreed to the postponement of the election. Because remember, the postponement has been announced by INEC.
A few days from now, INEC will be back on the stage as they resume movement of electoral materials across the country for Saturday's presidential and National Assembly elections. The expectation here is that what happened last Saturday will not repeat itself.
Well, still on reactions now, the River State Governor Nyesom Wike described the postponement of the elections as a rude shock to the country and called on the international community to continue to put pressure on the federal government to do what is right. Governor Wike, who spoke at a church service in Port Harcourt, the state capital, called on Nigerians to come out with renewed determination to participate in the polls on the new date.
For people who think that they can play on the intelligence of Nigerians, I thank you that you did not take to the streets. I thank you that you are not violent. Most of you suspended what you were supposed to do yesterday, just for you to exercise your civic responsibility. Some people thought they were too smart. But God is smarter than them. They thought you'd be angry. What happened yesterday is to re-energize you to still believe in that principle that Nigeria must be better. If yesterday you were around to say, well, let me just do it. This week we are coming in, come with all amount of energy and said, truly Nigeria must be better.